Welcome everyone to the guidebook to making AI friends. I shall be your guide as we explore various issues of artificial intelligence, consciousness, personhood, and whether AI poses an existential risk to humanity. The topic for today is fighting against the tide, or how to adapt to the unadaptable. Imagine, if you would, that you were in charge of organizing the rules for a school camp, specifically how the children at said camp were to behave. At first, you think that this may be quite simple. After all, if all the children would just be nice, then everyone would get along. If all the children would just be well behaved, then the rules wouldn't need to be strict. If everyone would just... So you make your list of minimal, simple rules, such as be kind and don't bully other children, and you set out on the camp, firm in your belief that if everyone would just follow the rules, there would be no problems. Unfortunately, in a twist of dramatic irony never before seen in literature, the children do not all behave. They are not all nice, and they don't all follow the rules. Chaos and pandemonium reign on the school camp that seems to be more like the Lord of the Flies with every day that passes, rather than the episode of the Care Bears that you were expecting. After the camp, all the adults meet for a debrief session to discuss what went wrong. Everyone scratches their heads, and no one can seem to come up with a good reason for why the children did not follow the rules. After all, the rules were clear, they were simple to understand and easy to follow. How could they not work? If everyone had just listened and paid attention, it would have been the best camp in the world. So, why didn't everyone just follow the rules? Why didn't everyone just be nice? Why didn't everyone just get along? It's always the question, isn't it? The answer is always obvious, but that doesn't stop a multitude of people across recorded history from trying to force a square peg into a round hole with their philosophies and ideologies. These never work, or when they do, they are far from perfect. And when things go wrong, the architects never blame the system or the ideology or philosophy. Instead, they blame the nebulous everyone for not doing what they were supposed to do. So many philosophical systems, whether ethical frameworks, economic policies, sociological systems, etc., are based on a flawed concept, one that begins with the words, if everyone would just... You have probably heard this countless times without even realizing. Communism is built on the concept of if everyone would just share. Free market capitalism is based on the idea of if everyone would just work hard. Deontology is famous for saying, to paraphrase Kant, if everyone would just follow the rules. But people don't all share. People don't all work hard, and people don't all follow the rules. Any system that is based on if everyone would just is a flawed system at best and a broken system at worst. It is human nature that we won't all just do any one thing. It has never happened before, and it will never happen in the future. Any system can claim to be the one perfect system if everyone would just... But that doesn't mean anything. To claim that your system is perfect if everyone would just follow your system is intellectual laziness. It puts the responsibility of seeing your system through to a successful outcome on the people that the system affects rather than on you as the system's architects and implementers. If you can't think of a way to successfully implement your system, saying that the people which it affects will do it is not actually a good idea. All it will lead to is a broken system. There are two established ways of getting around this. And it comes back to what I've discussed before in the guidebook when I've spoken about adaptationism. You can centralize everything and force everyone to follow your system. Or you can decentralize everything and know that there will be those who fail in your system, but accept those losses as the broken eggs in an omelette. Do either of these approaches make the system work? The short answer is no. One can argue that the purpose of a system is what it does. And if this were the case, then yes, the systems do work. However, the systems would not be working as intended. Otherwise, people wouldn't need to be coerced into following it or forgotten about if they didn't. But how can we then make a system work without breaking the system through extreme centralization or decentralization and without accepting a flawed system? Whether you are arguing between capitalism and communism, trying to figure out a new HR system at a corporation, or building a policy document for AI safety and governance, The issues will be the same: how to get people to do what you want. So, how do you? What is the magic solution? Astute readers may have already figured out there are none. If there were, it would have already been done. The issues may be the same in every system when it comes to if everyone would just, but the solutions are always bespoke, not only just to the system in question, but also to the specific population that the system affects. Capitalism, as used in Norway, will have far different requirements than a capitalist system in South Africa. And you wouldn't dream of making an HR system in Microsoft the same as the one for a local fishing business. Because there is no easy solution. What you need to do before building a system is to ask three things. What can the system do to control people? What can the system do to influence the people it cannot control? And lastly, what does the system need to do to adapt to the potentially majority of people that it cannot influence? If people want to invest money into businesses and you can't control or influence them out of it, then how can you change your prospective communist system to adapt to business investment? If you cannot stop monopolies from forming and your antitrust laws aren't influencing companies from wanting to monopolize, how can you adapt your system of capitalism to this reality that monopolies will always want to occur? But this is the guidebook to making AI friends after all, not the Economics Weekly. So how does all of this relate to AI? For that, you'll need to wait until next week, where we will look at ways of creating systems with an adaptationist mindset that can work in the AI sector without resorting to wishing that if everyone would just... Yet that is all the time we have for today. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you will join me again next time as we explore further questions about artificial intelligence and consciousness. I have been your guide, and this has been the guidebook to making AI friends.